This Torah class is brought to you by TorahAnytime.com.
Okay, good afternoon, everyone. So many of you may have heard this before, but I want to give you a sense of context to understand about two of the Balei HaTosfos we just discussed, namely Rabbeinu Shimshon bar Avram of Shantz, who, by the way, if you see in Tosfos, the Rashba should not be confused with the Rashba of Barcelona. That is a different individual. He's not quoted by the Balei HaTosfos. This is the Balei HaTosfos will refer to the Rashba as Rabbeinu Shimshon bar Avram. So if you would kindly take a look at the chart that I sent out, please take a look at that. And here on this chart, you're going to see the layout of the entire house of Rashi. Now, for the Bnei Ashkenaz, it's very important to understand clearly the lineage, the genealogy of the house of Rashi, as 80% of Bnei Ashkenaz are direct descendants of Rashi. So if you're Ashkenazi, in all likelihood, this is the story of your grandparents. We're going to start with Rashi. Rashi we'll call the first generation. Just to be familiar, Rashi had two great Rabbeim, Rabbeinu Yaakov ben Yakar, who died in 1064, and Rabbeinu Eliezer Haggadah. Then we have Rashi. Rashi lived from 1040 to 1105. Rashi only had daughters. Rashi had no sons. Rashi's two daughters were Yocheved and Miriam. Yocheved was married to Rabbeinu Meir. Rabbeinu Meir was one of the Balei HaTosfos. He is known as Avi Harabanim because he was the progenitor of the greatest rabbis, not only of his era, but in all of history, really. His oldest son was Rashbam, 1085 to 1174. The Rashbam wrote the classic commentary Ala Torah. The Rashbam wrote a Perush on Kimat all of Shas. We have his Perush on parts of Arvei Psachim. We have his Perush on Baba Basra. The second son is the Rivam. Rabbeinu Yitzchak ben Meir lived from 1090 to 1130. He passed away young. He left 7 orphans who were then adopted by the younger brother, Rabbeinu Tam, who lived from 1100 to 1170. Now Rashi lived in the times of the First Crusade. Rabbeinu Tam lived in the times of the Second Crusade. Rabbeinu Tam was nearly killed in the Second Crusade. The Rashbam, Rivam, Rabbeinu Tam had a sister, as we mentioned earlier, Chana. Chana's son was the Rihazakein, the 4th generation of the Balei HaTosfos. So we have Rashi, generation 1, Rabbeinu Meir, generation 2. Now back to generation 2 for a moment. Rashi had another daughter, Miriam, who was married to the Rivan, Rabbeinu Yehuda bar Nasan. By the way, Rabbeinu Yehuda bar Nasan had a daughter, Alvina. Alvina was a very learned woman. Now, there were many learned women throughout history. Actually, the Ohr HaChaim HaKadosh's wife was so learned that she wore talis and tefillin every single day. Not only that, she learned Torah b'hislahavos. Halavai, they should say that about men, that they wear talis and tefillin every day and they learn Torah b'hislahavos. But Rabbeinu Yehuda bar Nasan had a daughter, Alvina, who taught some of the minhagim from her mother to her cousin, the Rihazakein. Now Rashi also had 2 great disciples. One disciple was Rabbeinu Simcha. Rabbeinu Simcha was known as the Machzor Vitri. Rabbeinu Simcha had a son, Shmuel. Shmuel married Rashi's granddaughter, Chana, and they produced the Rihazakein. Okay, you got that? You think you're going to pass the test? It's not a multiple choice test. Don't think, okay, you'll get multiple choice, you'll probably get it right. This is fill in the blank. No, okay. Now the questions are coming. Okay, yeah? What? No relationship at all. They were not related. Rabbeinu Chanana was of not from France. Okay, So then you have Rabbeinu Shmaya. Rabbeinu Shmaya, if you look in Masechta Tamid, Masechta Midos, you have the Rash. The Rash was written by Rabbeinu Shmaya, Talmud of Rashi. He also wrote something called Sefer HaOira. A descendant of Rashi's son-in-law, Rabbeinu Yehuda Bar Nassan, was Rabbi Yehuda of Paris, who firstly was the Rebbe of Rabbeinu Yechiel of Paris. Also quoted by Tosfos in many Makaimais. Tosfos refers to him as a knight. He was known as Sir Leon of Paris. So he was a knight, and he led the great academy of the Balei Tosfos in Paris. The Ri Hazaken had a son, Rabbeinu Elchanan. Rabbeinu Elchanan was murdered, I believe, in the Third Crusade. The Ri Hazaken also had great Talmidim. We were just at the kever of Rabbeinu Shimshon of Shantz and his older brother, the Ritzba, Rabbeinu Yitzchak Bar Avram of Shantz. And then the grandson of the Ri Hazaken, the 6th generation of the Balei Tosfos, was Rabbeinu Shmuel, the author of the Tosfos on Masechta Moyed Katan. So it's worthwhile when you learn a Tosfos, you see the Ri, you know who the Ri is. The Ri is none other than the great grandson of Rashi, grandson of Rabbeinu Meir, Avi Harabanim. When you see the Rivam, Rivam was grandson of Rashi. Rabbeinu Tam, also grandson of Rashi. As we mentioned, the 3 greatest Rishonim, Rabbeinu Tam, the Ri Hazaken, Rabbeinu Shimshon of Shantz. Rabbeinu Tam is what we call the architect of Tosfos. The Ri Hazaken is the builder of Tosfos. Rabbeinu Shimshon of Shantz is Tosfos. The ideas found in Tosfos throughout Shas are meyusad on the chidushim of Rabbeinu Shimshon of Shantz. I highly recommend you print out this chart. It's on your, it's on the group, and take a look at it, study it, know it. Zechusam Yagin Aleinu B'Al Kol Yisrael. Okay.
You've just experienced another Torah class brought to you by TorahAnytime.com.